welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's the second to last week of the 2020-2021 Collegiate Star League for League of Legends, and Boise State's starting to hit some of their toughest matchups. And tonight it's going to be an in-conference matchup and a little bit of a Colorado State Rumble weekend. We had Rocket League last night. Tonight it's League of Legends, Boise State's orange team taking on Colorado State's green team. Joining me today to call all of the actions, Jared Baratel Castiglione. And Baratel, anytime anything's in conference, I don't care if it's for fun, I don't care if it's for a tournament, it just means a little bit more because these teams are very familiar with each other, and there's that extra hint of, sure, we might be better in Collegiate Star League, but we're also better in the conference as well.
Yeah, and I know just around just the talks, but a lot of these players do kind of have those moments where, you know, one's streaming and like, hey, what are you doing on stream? Let me check those kind of schemes and trickery you're trying to pull here in solo queue. But when it comes down to it, they're all fans of the game, and they really do want to try and bring their best foot forward when it comes to the competition. But they also want to win.
Yeah, there's going to be actually some really interesting and familiar names for fans of Boise State League of Legends. It's the orange team made up of almost the same team as last semester. No setup. The mid laner has graduated. Big congratulations to him. We'll have 80 carry filling in for him, and then Woojin going to be in the support role in the bot lane. And meanwhile, for Colorado State, maybe the more interesting one is Frankie G is going to be on the Colorado State green team. If you remember him, he was a big catalyst for Colorado State's upset over Boise State last spring in a route to the Mountain West Championship, and now he is on the green team, though he is one of the highest ranked players for Colorado State League of Legends, so it's going to be a very, very tough matchup for Boise State. And I think there's nothing more than, if you're Gimmick, who was in that game against Frankie G, you want that revenge for what went wrong in that 5-game marathon last spring.
Absolutely, and you know, to have something like that happen, Frankie G being at the rank that he's at, he's going to be able to influence a lot of things there for his team as a leader.
So you see the breakdown here for the Collegiate Star League. 416 teams divided across 39 divisions. It's a best of 3 for every single matchup. There are 2 BSU teams. Top 3 move to the playoffs, which start in February. We are getting very close, as we mentioned, the second to last week in the regular season. And Boise State and Colorado State going at it right now. I know the orange team has playoff aspirations, and I would have to think if the green team is as talented as we think they are from some of the players they have, they are, I'm sure, for Colorado State, are right in it as well. Also believe Bladestorm, who made his debut last fall as the Colorado State top laner, he also is on this Colorado State green team as well. So there's a couple of familiar names that Boise State has seen time and time again, and I'm really curious to see how these things break out because it's still a new season, Barrett. So yes, we had the preseason. Probably shouldn't play ranked games because there's no point, according to some people. I think everyone's still kind of figuring out what the meta is with these new items. So for Colorado State and Boise State, this first game could be totally different than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it really does just depend on how much time they put in since that preseason ended, because those are kind of the official changes that we're going through into the competitive scene, knowing that the CSL was starting right after that. So it really does kind of determine, you know, what team's going to go for what kind of play style. There are so many emerging metas, but there hasn't been one that's just kind of taken supremacy as the best meta so far.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if either team takes anything from our Boise State blue team that we saw on Saturday. There was a lot of Trundle played in the top lane, reaching in a couple of games just pure unkillable status with the Gore Drinker. You also have champions like Olaf, who can make great use of that as well. So I'm going to be really curious if we see an Olaf or a Trundle in the top lane or in the jungle, where they were at least at one point found more often, because it feels like, even though Riot promised us, we're working on healing, guys, we're working on healing, there's almost more healing in this new patch than there's almost ever been in the game before.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because this play right now for this kind sort of setup is going to be on the patch right before Gore Drinker and a lot of that Ravenous Hunter healing was taken away, or at least a lot of the oomph out of that healing was removed. So as you said, you know, Riot has been working on shaving down on that healing, and they did get to it, but it's just not on the patch that we're playing on tonight.
Well, we're going to hop right into this game number 1 draft here, see what the teams prioritize. Really curious, like I said, and that's the other thing that's really interesting for Boise State, is the blue and orange team definitely have different flavors. Of course, we know with the blue theme, they're playing through E-Thug. They're kind of also trying to play through Ascent. Feels like for the orange team, for the most part, they like to put Prominence Blade on his carrier champions. I know he loved his Camille last season. And they also like to put Gimmick in something like a Misfortune, something that he can hyper carry on. Would not be shocked to maybe even see a Kaisa. But much like the blue team, there's still some one tricks. And there goes Galaxy Savage Kane, a champion he plays all the time, is incredibly good at when it's got through.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about carry junglers and learning how to play through them, if Galaxy Savage managed to get through this Kane, then that would have been definitely the playstyle they would have went for. But Gragas being removed, interestingly enough, Gragas now emerging as kind of an almost one-size-fits-all flex. You got support, you even have the mid, jungle, and even top lane in that tanky build.
Yeah, just still a little bit of a tank meta, plus the disruption, the ability with the ultimate to just kind of either solo somebody out, disengage for your team. Morgana banned away once again. No matter the patch, always feels like a very, very solid support. And then we see the Camille ban and the Thresh ban. So for Colorado State, they're trying to take away the one tricks. For Boise State, feels like they're taking away the more powerful champions.
Coach Baratel looking fresh. I do kind of look like a coach.
There's only one problem. You look like a coach for the wrong team.
I knew this was going to come up. I'm wearing green intentionally because I'm trying to cast or curse CSU.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
That is a Seraphine ban there, not a Shyvana. So, again, we've talked about it, and we kind of talked about this pre-show about not letting Seraphine get through. That's exactly what Boise State wants to do. And like I said, Boise State feels like they've targeted these are the powerful champions we don't want to play. Colorado State's kind of got shoehorned into these are the champions we can't let Boise State players get. And there's the Kaisa, probably the best AD carry in the meta right now, and no shock for Colorado State to first pick her.
Yeah, I mean, there really aren't many more top-flavored first picks. Kaisa being, one that just, hey, as long as we get to like 16 minutes once you get your first item, Kraken Slayer, or that Gale Force online, you could start becoming a menace and start just generating so much gold for your team.
So the Galio and the Pantheon picked up, so the orange team taking after the blue team, and really everything Boise State League of Legends has done with those flex picks. I know we saw Red Hots on Pantheon in the top lane. You could still be in the jungle. You could still sneak down the support, and same for Galio. You can go in the mid, you can go in support, and it is interesting. Boise State has their support from last season, AD carry, working in that mid lane now with no setup. Maybe you put him on a bit of a safer mid laner that can ult all over the place. Not a bad choice for Boise State.
Yeah, and it's always a nice choice when it comes to this Galio to put them in the mid lane. Yes, support's phenomenal if you're able to get yourself in the center part of the map, because at that point, you're using the whole circle of the ultimate, not just half of it.
There's that Olaf we talked about before the draft. Going to make a lot of pressure for Boise State to be able to find healing reduction. There's that Lulu. That Ragnarok plus Wild Growth combo, if Boise State picks a squishy backline, that is going to be in a lot of trouble because there's no stopping that angry Viking.
It's tough, right? So the only way that, there we go.
Poor
the only way
Vayne.
that Boise State was going to be able to try and combat this is just by sheer, raw, not CC-based damage. Vayne, Kog'Maw, fantastic choices in addition to Kaisa to abuse that Kraken Slayer. So I think that's a great draft there from Boise State.
And the only thing I'm scared about is if Olaf finds his way onto Vayne, she's really not getting away.
No,
really.
Really.
There's really nothing the rest of Boise State can do. You have to save the taunt for the Ragnarok fading. There's the Echo and the Hecarim ban, so targeting down the jungles for both teams now. Seraphine is Seraphine, not Shyvana. If you are just joining us, there's that Renekton. So Boise State a bit all over the place, assuming it's probably an Olaf jungle, which is kind of brings into question the Echo ban as he's a little bit stronger in the jungle than the mid lane. And then there's the Ornn from Colorado State, someone we haven't actually seen a whole lot of. It feels like we finally have lost the Ornn meta, which I will greatly rejoice.
It shouldn't be that way, though, because he has even more scaling depending on his passives. The mythic items are even better, not only in terms of stats they give them, but also the range of what they can affect. Its supports actually have an upgrade path. So it's interesting that Ornn's still seeing a ban, but I think it's the right call. There really aren't too many top laners left. Riven being what's going to be dug through the bottom of the barrel? So
sounds like production let me know that's Rel, actually.
Rel, okay. Okay, I do like Rel. I think that she's phenomenal. Kind of a Leona-esque champion where she goes in and tries to keep someone there for as long as possible. In tandem with Galio, that's a pretty devastating front line so far.
Oriana picked up from Colorado State. The only problem with that idea for Boise State of trying to pick somebody and just CC him down with the Galio and the Rel.
They got no damage.
Well, who are you gonna hold down here?
True.
You're not getting a Kaisa through a Lulu, Olaf, and Shen. You're not holding down Olaf. A lot of pressure for Boise State to pick their spots. They're going to have to basically bait out the Ragnarok, and then they can CC down Olaf, and I think that might be a good combo. But if they just try and blow all their CC, Olaf hits one button, gets a Wild Growth, he's going to melt through the entire team.
There's one champion that can work for Boise State here. Not that. I was thinking Nocturne, right? I guess in some sense, Vladimir can pull to the back line, but for this, if you put Pantheon mid, you have that Galio top, can work. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Or you just put Pantheon top and Galio mid, Rel support with Vayne bottom. You have Nocturne as the jungler to get access to the back line and then just throw every member of Boise State there as well.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah,
it'll probably. I'm assuming it'll be Galio mid, like we talked about. Just the ability for that ult to affect either lane. Vladimir in the top lane, definitely very, very safe. And then Pantheon in the jungle, something that I'm not even sure Riot really knows what to do with Pantheon. He's seen his moments basically in every single lane. So I am really curious, by the way, if that team comp looks confusing to you, the Riven is a Rel. That is why we are thinking that it is not like a Riven top lane and a Pantheon support. So pro draft sometimes very confused about what these new champions are supposed to look like. But I got to say, I really love this team for Colorado State. They got the best AD carry in the game. They've got one of the strongest junglers in the game in Olaf. And, I mean,
Lulu also being one strong support, too, to enable everyone on their team.
I mean, you can almost just ignore the Kai'Sa at this point and throw all of your resources on your Olaf. He's your ball delivery system. He gets the wild growth. He gets to stand united. He really doesn't care what you do to him. So it's going to be very tough for Boise State in this Collegiate Star League matchup. Boise State Orange taking on Colorado State Green here. Second to last week in the regular season. I know both these teams trying to end strong, and it, of course, always feels well to beat down a conference opponent and maybe even eliminate them from the playoffs. There's always that as well. Well, Doc's keys to the game: understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, and play your game. It's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want more information about staying safe online, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. And I would say, Baratel, what is the Boise State win condition besides just Colorado State giving up?
Ultimately, I think they're trying to abuse the fact that Olaf may try to just run it down into their back line and just hold off the rest of Colorado State from joining the fight with their front line while Vayne tries to do as much damage as possible before faltering. The problem is there are so many targets that Olaf can not worry about. He's got the Ragnarok to go through Galio. Pantheon's most likely going to shield, and at that point you don't want to throw any damage at them. Vladimir will pool, so the only viable target at that point is going to be Vayne, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Woojin to keep Gimmick alive. Galaxy, I mean, really the whole team has to basically peel for Gimmick until Ragnarok gets popped, and then try and kill Olaf through Ragnarok, because he does lose the magic and armor. That change has never been reverted. He's still going to have a ton of healing. And you also look, where does the Grievous Wounds fit in for Boise State?
Yeah, that's the question. And then you also have to consider whether or not they even bother buying the Shereldia's Grudge, because at that point, look how many shields Colorado State has to offer. They have the Orianna, they have the Lulu, Stand United. But also, when Kai'Sa ults, that's a huge shield for them as well. That might be a huge opportunity for them to get extra damage that might break through both the shielding and healing.
We see an invade here from Colorado State. First Undertow's going to miss, but that's not going to deter Frankie G. He's still running it down. Word comes out. Good news for Boise State. They didn't plan on starting this blue buff anyway, so I think we're just going to get some vertical jungling here to start.
And a good option, because this puts a lot of pressure. Not saying that Vayne Rel has a lot of pressure in the kill lane at all, but it does put a lot of pressure here on the bottom lane to play a little bit more conscientious, because it's dangerous when you have an Olaf right there next to you.
Yeah, and the only problem for Boise State is while the vertical jungling looks even on paper, as you can see Galaxy Savage already rotating down to the Colorado State blue buff, it's not that easy to gank a Shen, especially with a Vladimir who has no setup CC to offer besides a slow when he uses his pool.
Yeah, and a lot of the damage that comes from Pantheon, the jungler, of course, is kind of that physical-based damage. Shen able to drop down just the W, maybe put down to pull the Q into him to get that shielding. Should negate most of that. The thing, though, that is possible, that can go very well for Boise State, is that they do put resources top lane just to protect Prominence Blade. Vladimir can take over this game very quickly because he's got the range magic here.
Yeah, that is the other thing that I do like for Boise State, is that Shen, despite being a tank, at times can put out probably too much damage for what a tank should be doing. But Prominence Blade with the phase rush, with the range advantage, like you mentioned, Baratel, probably going to be able to to stay away for the most part and be able to survive. So I think a lot of pressure is going to come on to Galaxy Savage. Where can he gank? Can he maybe counter gank Frankie G in the bot lane when Boise State needs him? Because you're not going to get a kill in that top lane, mid lane, maybe a possibility, but Phase Rush Orianna also going to be pretty hard to chase down.
I do also like the fact that they've drafted the Rel, kind of this frontline, very high armor magic champion. With a change here, going to fight over this Scuttle Crab. Going to go the way of Boise State. Going to continue fighting. Both Conquerors have been top. He's going to have to shield himself to safety. The flash out, but the flash fall. Undertow will land, and this could be first blood for CSU. The backup's there, the stun as well, but he will fall, giving it over to Kaisa. That's dangerous, because that's a double buff Kaisa right now.
Yeah, if you notice the difference between Boise State and Colorado State, 3 members left their lane for the Rams. Boise State, I don't even know if any combination of AD carry, Gimmick, and Wujin stepped out of lane to go try and assist Galaxy Savage. So just a little bit of a miscommunication. Are we fighting? Are we not fighting? There's a taunt that is going to land on Shrex. Frankie G is on the back line, so AD carry's got to be careful. Being chunked nearly as low, but the Orianna is at less mana, and everyone's going to disengage properly. So I don't know if that was Galaxy Savage wanted to fight. I mean, he is a Kayn main, so he's more used to those dually junglers, and the rest of the team wasn't aware or what went wrong, because everybody say it felt like they're like, all right, Pantheon, you're getting out, right? And he just never left.
And beyond that as well, having Rel join that fight gives them 3 potential CCs they can land. On the side of Colorado State, they only had maybe the Transmogrify, the Polymorph, to stop one. Everything else was just that soft crowd control. That might have been an edge for them to get like a backup or a combo with the Condemn, and then piggyback off with the shield as well. You know, a really missed opportunity from Boise State to try and maybe make something out of the over-aggression from CSU.
Yeah, we talked about, you know, the ability for Olaf to become immune to CC with Ragnarok. Well, this early in the game, he doesn't have access to it. It's one of the few times you can punish an Olaf for overextending, but Boise State's just going to shrug their shoulders, go back to CSing, and you look, everything's pretty square. Slight edge to CSU in every single lane, so they are in the gold lead, not only from that kill, but also couple of assists went out as well. Orianna did not get there in time, so definitely for Colorado State, they can prioritize this first dragon if they want to. It's just a Cloud Drake, but still they got to feel a little bit more powerful in this matchup thanks to that extra goal. Yeah,
the Cloud Drake for CSU is phenomenal because they have so many high-impact ultimates. You know, we always like to sometimes toy around with the idea of putting financial value on an ultimate. Colorado State, they have like 6 figures across the board.
Yeah, smaller cooldown on Ragnarok, Stand United, the Wild Growth, which for the most part outside of Stand United don't really have the longest cooldowns anyway. Definitely would be a prioritization, and they have full bot lane prio right now. You see a taunt is going to land onto Prominence Blade. He will just simply retreat. Going to try and get that empowered Q off onto Bladestorm at some point here for the healing, and there's really just not many ways to kill a Vladimir in a 1v1, especially in the range versus melee matchup.
Yeah, there really isn't any top kill pressure without any sort of involving the jungler or maybe even the mid laner. And as we were saying, this was a pretty free pickup for Colorado State to pick up the dragon, and this only now means we have 1 dragon left to determine what's going to influence the rest of the game.
Prominence Blade, every time he goes up to CS that back line of minions, Bladestorm makes him pay with a taunt combo. Definitely going to be hard for this Vladimir to be able to get as much CS as he wants, and you see as soon as the Q becomes empowered, Bladestorm just runs out of range to reduce the amount of healing he does get. So definitely not an easy matchup, but again, we kind of talked about it. It's the state of top lane. If nobody plays, you know, all-in champs, no one's really going to die at this point. It's just who can CS better and who can help out a team fight with their teleport.
Yeah, and I think because, you know, Colorado State has the double teleport with Stand United, they do have the ability to influence these long-range bot side plays that maybe CSU wants to use. But I think with Vladimir, the phase rush, he'll probably end up going like Rocket Belt or something for extra speed. And when he gets that empowered Q, he gets the movement speed bonus as well. He can quickly join a mid-skirmish if that's what's happening.
It is interesting to note, just notice Prominence Blade with that ghost on Vladimir, of course with the pool, doesn't always need the flash, but if he gets ganked and he gets hit by a taunt, he's not going to be able to get away as easily. So that's something to watch out for, as we do see a taunt going to land from AD carry. Galaxy Savage trying to get in range for the stun, not able to find it, as Shrek's able to walk back away, and Boise State's first attempted gank doesn't really go anywhere.
Makes me wonder if Prominence Blade is stacking that kind of movement speed mentality, having, of course, like the movement speed from Nimbus Cloak, maybe even the water walking, all these kinds of things that give him this extra movement speed to get in there. And again, they really don't have too much in the way of hard crowd control on CSU. They have the taunt, which you're not going to use this to stop a Vladimir. You're not going to just ball a Vladimir because they can just pool it. So that might be their play here, is just trying to use that movement speed to navigate around a team fight easily.
Well, you mentioned Vladimir could definitely take over a game, and he might have to, depending on how Gimmick plays. It's going to require, I think, almost perfect positioning from Gimmick to survive any all-in Colorado State wants to throw at him. But right now, the Rams content just building up a CS lead. You can see every lane extending into those double digits here. I mean, bot lane's about even for the most part. Still a little bit ahead. Mid lane's the one that caught my eye, where it's over 14. And closing, as Oriana did back. But Colorado State just using the CS advantage to build that gold lead up to about 1,000. And they're totally content not fighting.
Yeah, I do want to be kind of cognizant of what the status of this bottom lane is, because Vayne from behind is pretty near impossible to play. But you do have to keep in mind, this is one of Gimmick's favorite champions to play, and one that they've practiced countless hours playing solo queue, tournaments, even casual events that we sometimes have here. They whoop out this kind of Vayne, sometimes with a Taric to back them up, and it's an unstoppable force.
See, it looks like Colorado State is rotating over to that Rift Herald, so Boise State has now conceded first Dragon and first Rift Herald. Woojin going to try and engage in, can't find anything. So we'll have to retreat without his mount. But right now, Boise State can't really find much pressure really anywhere on this map.
No, it's going to be a while for them to be able to, because they have so many like long-term scaling champions on their draft that they don't have a lot of influence to make a play right now. And a lot of this early game power, I mean, Kai'Sa just has hit 5 times. Olaf's powerful at 6. A nice trade here, and a flash. Gonna have that Nimbus book to save them, but of course that clockwork is not gonna be enough in terms of extra damage. But you can just see how much pressure in each lane CSU is exerting over Boise State.
Yeah, Boise State has the inverse of the range melee matchup in the mid, and we've seen Oriana be able to equal AD Carry's damage output every time he dashes in on that Galio. The command shockwave maybe catching him just a little bit off guard. Felt like he probably was safe under his turret, and nearly a nice little pick up there for Shreks, but the flash away from AD Carry, so he'll have to be careful. If he does ult into a fight, that he doesn't overcommit now that he no longer has the flash. Everybody's level 6. Taunt's going to land here on the Prominence Blade. He will be able to pull away, but now you have to start wondering when the first fight's going to break out. You see these things, it's an Infernal Dragon next, so we're going to either get a Mountain or an Ocean Soul. But I'm sure Colorado State has no qualms of just forcing down this Dragon and making Boise State contest them, because right now Boise State has been playing on the reactive end.
I don't have qualms in terms of how Prominence Blade is playing this lane, because I'm sure they could probably beat me on any champion in any lane. But I do question whether or not they're playing it as aggressive as they need to. Because when it comes down to it, Shen's going to go ahead and ulti. You don't have hard CC to stop it. So what you need to do is base off your sustainability. Realize that Shen has a very predictable trade pattern. It only does so much damage, and then you can sustain up. Prominence Blade has the unique opportunity of making sure Shen does not feel healthy enough to join a fight with Stand United.
Yeah, it was interesting to last pick the Vladimir into Shen and not pick CC. Here's the engage. Ragnarok going to pop undertow as they chase down Gimmick. He's going to tumble away and turn invisible. Here's entrance. Will land. Bladestorm going to get knocked up in the air as the Stand United came through. Prominence Blade channeling the teleport. Everybody's down here around Dragon. Prominence Blade on the back line. He's going to pick up the first kill. Shimishi going to be forced to flash over the wall. Galaxy Savage will join him. It's a 3-for-0 for Boise State. The shockwave hits 3. Prominence Blade incredibly low. The ult in here from Galaxy Savage. Channeling the stun onto Frankie G. The answer appears to be no. Boise State's got to be careful. Shrek's putting out a ton of damage still, and at full health. Still has the Blast Cone available as well if he wants to get away. He will do... Nope, looks like Woojin's just going to prevent it. Boise State's going to pick up the Dragon, and what an excellent team fight. And it came down to Frankie G just blowing that Ragnarok way too early.
Yeah, use it and didn't get anything back out of it because he couldn't get the damage he needed to. And I also do wonder whether or not Shrek was in position to follow up that Wild Growth, because if that had followed up, if the Wild Growth knocked up 4 people, if they did that in tandem, that would have been a full 4-man knockup twice. Woo!
Yeah. That was a great job by Gimmick, and I mean, we said the pressure was going to be on him, and it's only 12 minutes in, but he definitely delivered. Using the ult, tumbling to become invisible, and there's just nothing Frankie G can do. He's separated from the rest of the team, and he realized, I got to retreat. And by then, Ragnarok fades, he's CCable, he loses that sort of I'm just going to train you down mentality that Olaf has, and he kind of becomes useless in a sense in that champion, because once you're not training the ADC, you're just kind of a beefy cannon minion that hits somewhat hard.
Yeah, it is going to take some time for Olaf to be able to do that with little to no opposition. Yes, right now, Vayne's got the ultimate with that stealth, but soon, at least I hope so, this Olaf will realize, hey, I can't just ult and run at someone. I need something to keep them near me, so maybe the Randuin's comes out. I doubt they go Kempting because they already got the Gore Drinker just online right now. So maybe they'll opt for a better build path to get the Vayne, because as of right now, just running at her is not going to work so well.
Yeah, I think they might need to run at the Vayne with the Stand United coming in, and then try and land a Shen taunt.
Yeah.
If Gimmick tumbles away, you can punish him while Tumble's still on CD. The other thing that kind of shocked me there is with that Dragon Force and that lost team fight, Frankie G is almost lost. Actually, he was able to summon Rift Herald at the very last second. I was going to say he was ticking down and it disappeared from his inventory. Would have liked to have seen that that down any lane, really. Get him a couple plates, because now he's not going to get anything. And personally, if there's no plates picked up by Rift Herald, I think it's kind of a useless objective that you wasted time on in the jungle early in the game.
A very nice criticism, Fish, because when you think about it, when you have Rift Herald first or second, yes, you want the plates, sure, and they're looking like they want to get something going on bottom. That's not going to happen, though. I think it's almost a unique opportunity when you have Rift Herald right before Drake spawn, and obviously they were willing to commit a fight before Drake spawn so they can get a man advantage to take it. Why not use the Rift Herald mid or bottom to create the pressure that someone from Boise State would have to respond to?
Looks like we've got a bit of a standoff here in the bot side. Woojin's going to back. That's going to leave Boise State in a 2-on-3. Frankie G's going to jump right on the Galaxy Savage. He'll throw up the shield, block all of that damage. You even see Shreks is rotated down as well. I don't know if they lost track of Woojin, but if no support's down there, that felt like a four-man tower dive should have been in the works, especially with the only defensive ability Galaxy Savage has already being committed. But Colorado State, a little bit passive after that lost team fight. They just kind of back away.
Yeah, you're definitely right to die, because once that defense, the Aegis Assault, is gone, there's nothing left in terms of defense for Boise State there. Easy maybe 1 for 2 if they traded aggro incorrectly, but you know, definitely not something that they saw in respect to Rao, because how much disruption this champion can cause.
Still able to use that pressure to pick up the first turret, so the Rift Herald will be somewhat successful in getting Colorado State some gold and getting them back in the gold lead. But right now for Boise State, they've got to be pretty confident after that last fight that anytime Colorado State wants to bring the battle to them, Boise State can be victorious. We see Woojin has left Gimmick all alone. He's going to try and find a pick somewhere else. Meanwhile, it's Colorado State bot lane. They're free to roam with no turret, and they're going to end up in the mid lane.
As we do kind of see the dust settling, not really much in terms of objectives to go for. I do want to take a little nod to the items that currently are built. You have the Night Harvester actually here on Prominence Blade. Vladimir able to get themselves the backline. Maybe he feels like he can use that to get that individual per champion cooldown used to great effect. You have the Gore Drinker finish as well on both junglers. And interestingly enough, I think it's actually going to be the Rocket Belt for the Galio. So not the traditional, you know, tank maybe Galio that we can see from time to time. It is going to be another huge amount of magic damage in terms of the source for Boise State to use.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked with how committed in his summoner spells Prominence Blade was to movement speed, that he just didn't go for the Proto Belt as well on the Vladimir and try and hit into that back line, the Night Harvester. I mean, you mentioned why it's good, but you would think if you're already committing the Ghost, why not just pick up the Proto Belt? You can use one to engage, one to disengage, but not the case. And I do think that has become the standard Galio build of the Rocket Belt, just simply because your whole goal is Galio. You're just playing an AP tank. You want to be able to get in, land a big taunt for your team to make capitalization of, and if he can hit that Kaisa, if he can hit Shreks, then he'll be doing his job, and who cares what he builds after that and how much damage he does.
Yeah, I mean, he gets himself in a position to not have to E, to get himself towards the taunt area. Also do want to consider some people that consider playing Galio, you are very beefy in nature. When you build defensive stats, of course, that only gets accentuated. Chem Tank is a pretty darn good item on Galio. I recommend you trying it, and you'll see just how easy it is to set up plays.
Speaking of setup plays, Boise State wants something here, using Gimmick as a little bit of a bait. Does unfortunately look like, yeah, they're just standing on a ward.
Yeah.
Woojin has no idea. Now he should probably figure it out. He's still going to try and engage. Going to get 3 knocked up in the air. Hero's Entrance going to come in as well. Boise picks up 1. Nice taunt from AD Carry. Boise gets another one. Ragnarok has been used. Stand United comes in, but condemned right into the wall. Bladestorm can't flash away from the 3rd bolt. It's Gimmick with a triple kill. Shrek's going to land a 3-man shockwave, but once again, it's too little too late from the Colorado State mid laner. And Boise State has set themselves up perfectly for a second drag.
It's just a classic case of not knowing what Rel does, honestly, or maybe not understanding that Woojin's one of the more chaotic players for the Boise State lineup. Full send over the wall, the backup there with the ultimate. That ultimate is surprisingly powerful, and I think because it's so little played Rel in that sense, people really don't understand that that ultimate is such a huge deny because you can't move out of it.
Yeah, and you know what's great when you can't move? Galio coming crashing in and then knocking you up again. The CC chain for Boise State executed to perfection, and I think you're right. Woojin was standing on a ward. Everyone for Colorado State knew he was there. And like you said, I don't know if it's just with how new Rel is, not understanding that, not expecting Woojin, especially when he gets hit out by Alluring Tiger, to be like, hey, I'm standing on a ward. I'm going in anyway. But when you see a Rel there and someone who can go over a wall, you should at all times fully respect that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you literally have to treat Rel like you treat Leona. She's near me, I'm a target.
Yep.
She can hit me, I won't be able to move for the next 6 seconds.
So a great job by Boise State in team fights, executing to perfection, and unfortunately for Colorado State, it feels like Shrek's had some huge shockwaves. I mean, he's averaging three hit per team fight. He's doing it when half his team is dead. And unfortunately, he just wasn't in position that time, had the teleport. I think he was rotating up from the bot side where he was just farming. But if he is able to keep landing these consistent shockwaves, and he's actually in the fight to start, Boise State is going to have a lot more problems than they've been having in these first couple fights.
Yeah, imagine the ulti, from Rel being what starts the fight. The immediate reaction to say, oh, Galio's, Hero's Entrance is coming. Let me set up my ball to immediately disrupt anything Boise State has the moment that he lands.
Yeah, or, I mean, now that the Vayne is 3-0-2 and no longer worried about playing from behind, with both AD carries having that Kraken Slayer that we talked about, just throw it on Olaf. If you can land a shockwave onto Gimmick, doesn't really matter if he tumbles away while invisible. He's not going to have that much HP. But unfortunately for Shrek, he's been playing about as well as he can. He's just been about 10 seconds late to a team fight. His Bladestorm's going to taunt out of a bush onto Prominence Blade, but now Vladimir high enough in level, he really no longer cares about what the Shed can do to him, and it's just going to come down to which of those top laners can push the hardest and which of those top laners can get into a fight the soonest.
Yeah, and you do want to kind of look at things from over top perspective. I guess during the initial draft, I was worried about Boise State's lineup and how much damage I actually had if, of course, Gimmick were to fall. And a great counter for that could possibly be the Shen, have the Bramble Vest on lock. Gonna go ahead and drop down the W as they need to protect themselves and their allies. But as you just saw in that previous team fight, just got condemned right out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we highlighted how Gimmick would have to play. I do think there was an element of how Frankie G has to play in this and play that Olaf well enough that he's able to train down the Vayne. Then he can turn around, collapse on the team fight. Does look like we had a little bit of an issue. Look like they said in chat that Gimmick having some issues in game, so we took a pause there. Hopefully he's able to resolve that, and we'll be able to get back in. But I do think it is kind of this weird 1v1 of who wins the battle in a big team fight between Gimmick and Frankie G, and I think 99% of the time, whoever wins that 1v1, probably going to be the one whose team ends up winning the game. Looks like we're all good to go here. Gimmick leaving the fountain. Everything is all squared away. See a couple of gore drinkers finished here. Everybody's finishing that mythic item except the top laner and the support for Boise State. But still, those powerful items being finished early. Whole thing Riot designed them around. We'll see who can make the most out of them. The Ludens on Orianna, definitely an interesting choice. Doesn't really feel like she maybe fits some of the more standard ones like the Leandries, so does make a little bit of sense. Just trying to get as much burst as possible.
Yeah, I also think that there's a little bit of fight coming out. If OCC Stand United will be popped. We'll be able to buy enough time. Wild Growth and the Kaisel Killer Instinct will be used, but here comes Galio. Grand Skyfall, the backline, just finally a time for the Shockwave to land, and it's a huge one, but they're not done yet. Gonna go ahead and dive forward with that Justice Punch. All remaining health bars are low, but no one eliminated just yet.
Yeah, both teams using their ultimates in a perfect defensive manner. The Wild Growth and the Stand United onto Samishi. To keep that Kaisa alive, the Shockwave, once again, great value. That time, unfortunately, was mainly used just to peel Boise State away. Galaxy Savage tried to ult in and land a stun on somebody, but no follow-up from his team, and the Hero's Entrance used to save him. Now Prominence Blade, got to be careful. Taunt's going to land. Undertow does look like it missed, so he's still going to be able to get away. Pops that Ghost. Going to use the pool as well. Can he trigger the phase rush? Another Undertow going to miss. The healing coming out from that ultimate. Hemoplague's going to pick up one. Shrek's in on the backline. He's going to be forced to flash over the wall, and it doesn't look like the 1v2 is going to come to fruition. It's just a shutdown. 80 carry, meanwhile, forced to flash away from Samishi. And Boise State's going to only come away with a 1-for-1 and a huge shutdown going over to Shreks.
Yeah, great job being able to turn that 1v2 and almost the 1v3 into a kill, because putting 3 members of your team and one of them getting taken out. Nice dive here attempt on the middle lane, but not going to succeed to get to the place they want to be. They're going to flash W though. Could be a huge amount of damage, and Galaxy Savage will spear Orianna. That's going to be a huge mechanical malfunction. Nice deterrence here from the side of Rel. Again, being the big beacon front line. Gonna go in for an engage. The flash though, it's a little slow. On the backside, Bladestorm will be able to take out Wujin, and the top will now follow. Onto, unfortunately, Gimmick will fall next. And now they're teleporting again. It's just these 2 members versus Roar. Galio can't do anything with Pantheon. And now Colorado State finding an edge and just going through that tiny chink in armor and chipping away at it.
That was a great rotation by Samishi and Alluring Tiger, and unfortunately for Gimmick, he just got caught on the edge of that wall where his corpse is. He spent a lot of that fight just trying to find a position he could auto-attack from that he thought was a safe place, and he never could find one, so his damage output very limited. So Colorado State will take great advantage there. They'll drop their second Rift Herald of the game. They'll pick up that mid turret, and then they'll pick up the dragons as well. So we're tied aside 2 turrets and 2 dragons as we compete for this Mountain Soul.
You have to consider how scary this can look now for both teams, because having the Mountain Drake in triplicate, resulting of course in the Soul, gives so much resistance that neither of these teams need to have in order to of course win things out. But can you imagine the Shen trying to get themselves safe in the back line, this Olaf diving in, and yes, they use the passive stacks of armor and magic resist when they ult, but they don't need it if they keep getting these Mountain Drakes.
Yeah, I definitely think the Mountain Soul and the triple Mountain Drake probably a bit more important for Colorado State's comp. As you mentioned, Boise State would love the tankiness. Galio kind of fits that Olaf role, but as you mentioned, when you pop the Ragnarok, you lose the passive armor and magic resist, but if you're gaining armor and magic resist from Dragon, you don't really care as much that you're being a little bit more squishy. So I'm sure that is on Frankie G's mind. He wants to try and pick that up. Looks like a little bit of a fight over this Rift Scuttle as Baron has spawned. So a clean team fight from either one could result in a Baron. Prominence Blade does have to be careful. No teleport. Shen has the Stand United and the teleport. So Prominence Blade has to be on top of it if Boise State's going to fight anywhere but that bot lane.
Does Prominence Blade have a Rabadon already? Can I see that correctly?
Yeah, that is a Rabadon.
That is a scary Vladimir.
If he gets into the fight, though.
That's true.
His teleport is soon. So if you're Colorado State and you've been tracking your timers effectively, which I'm sure players at this level are doing, you want to try and make an engage where Prominence Blade cannot get to the fight. And if you're Prominence Blade, your whole goal here has to be to do as much damage to Bladestorm so that when he does teleport in, he's basically useless.
It's kind of cool how this works out, because if Colorado State plays it correctly, force aggression, and they want to make Vladimir TP, Shen just has to wait until that TP started, taunt him out of it, and then he can just TP himself without any interruption.
Yeah, I think for Boise State, you have to sort of bait out the Stand United first, because, I mean, if the Shen's waiting there and his teammate's dying, that's a win for Boise State. Exactly, but you are right. Yeah. Shen does have the way to cancel the teleport that Prominence Blade does have to respect. His teleport is now on the line, so both members can join the fight. Not really much to fight over, except that Baron has been warded out by both teams appropriately, though, so there's not really a great place to start a fight. They try and catch Prominence Blade asleep at the keyboard. He's going to realize things look a little sketchy, and he's just going to back.
Yeah, great game sense here from both teams. I mean, as you had mentioned, as soon as Baron was the next objective on the table, both teams rotated there, trying to see what kind of vision they can establish, and Boise State now has the upper hand, and they're going to continue to try and dominate this river, keeping it dark for CSU.
And a really great job by all of these players. You can see the farm numbers in every lane but mid are basically dead even. Is a 42 CS advantage for Shrek. However, those 6 assists by 80 carry doing a good job making up for that CS difference. Boise State trying to set a pick here. You can see the pings for Colorado State pinging that Baron. Frankie G is going to go face check. Doesn't see anybody. Alluring Tiger looks like it's the sport's job to go ward, and he's going to walk right into it. Does not stand a chance. Boise State immediately pings the Baron. They want to take advantage of this 4v5.
And a great idea. The Death Bush is always one of those cheeky plays, but Boise State does it in such an expert fashion, picking a bush that's rarely contested in terms of this Baron pit. So, of course, it gives them the opportunity. Lulu doesn't have a lot of team fight presence, but looks like it's going to be a little team fight. A little bit of backline access, and Frankie G will pop off here. The backup of that Stand United. They're not done yet. Another undertow will be given over. That is a triple kill over for this Olaf. And Boise State getting the pick, but immediately getting shut down for a little bit overzealous, gets punished, and CSU take the Baron.
Yeah, I don't know if going for the Baron with Alluring Tiger out of the fight was the right call. I mean, Frankie G basically got the full combo on him. He got the Orianna ball, the Shockwave perfectly hit Gimmick, and there was nothing he could do with the Ragnarok, and Boise State got separated. So they will hand this Baron over to Colorado State, who still remains in this game, and the Broncos maybe a little bit overzealous, as you mentioned, Baratel. Got the pick, yes. Usually that does mean Baron. When you pick the support, it's not as easy as you would think, and now this is going to set Colorado State up for a full Baron buff team fight around this Mountain Dragon, if Boise State can even get there in time.
If this was maybe like a more impactful non-enchanter support, then that pick would have been a lot more meaningful, resulting in a good Baron call. But because it's Lulu and they still have the major tools at their disposal for the team fight success, and because they use them so well, obviously they end up with the win. And I think it's a moment of hesitation for Boise State, because it almost seems like Colorado has figured out exactly what to do with their team comp.
They're going to speed Frankie J right in. There he goes. Ragnarok right on the back line. Nice flash. We're going to dodge the Shockwave. Ragnarok now fading soon as Frankie G's forced to flash away from the hero's entrance. And Boise State can turn it if they can track somebody down. Bladestorm, the first one to go down. 80 carry flashes in, then immediately retreats. Prominence Blade gets the empowered Q to heal back up to half life. Everybody's health bar is critically low for Boise State. Nice tumble away from Gimmick and a dodge to the undertow. Take out the ward. Boise State still has to be careful. Kaisa ult still on the table. They're going to stun down Frankie G. Barely gets away. Smichi able to pick off Gimmick. He's in on the back line. Galaxy Stab able to pick up one. Smichi gets the shield, but it's not going to be enough. He takes down 80 carry. It's just Shrek's left alive. No Shockwave available. Boise State wins the team fight even against the Baron. And they're going to get the third Mountain Dragon of the game. And it's going to be 3-2 Boise State Dragon lead.
The moment that Colorado State figures out how their team comp is supposed to work, and they try the same kind of Olaf, go get to the back line. A fantastic flash from Gimmick offers so much time for Boise State's front line to separate anyone from joining Frankie G on the back line. And that's exactly how they need to play this fight.
And once again, I mean, it came down to the battle of Gimmick and Frankie G. Gimmick perfectly times the flash, so the Shockwave hits nothing but air. That Shockwave hits him, he's dead.
100%. If he doesn't flash, he's dead. Yeah.
I mean, but if he flashes and they're able to reposition and there's another Shockwave that goes out, he's still dead. So he lined that up perfectly. Probably about 0.1 second for the Shockwave went off. He did end up going down. It was a great play by Samishi on that Kaisa to get in on the back line. But still, for Boise State, it does feel like every team fight's going to devolve into who plays it better, Frankie G or Gimmick. And that time, Gimmick gets the victory and his team picks up the Dragon.
And I mean, when you think about it too, yes, they pick up the Dragon, but now they put themselves on Soul Point as well. And we've talked about already how impactful this Mountain Soul can be, giving these defensive stats to these champions that have no business having so high defenses.
The other thing that was really good for Boise State is that both 80 carry and Prominence Blade have invested in the Magi Soul Stealer. And going into that fight, neither of them had any stacks because they had been wiped on the Baron. Kind of surprised neither of them bailed out. I think 80 carry might want to consider it. He hasn't picked up any kills, so he still does only have 2 stacks. But Prominence Blade being able to get back up to 8 stacks, at least making that item a worthwhile pickup.
I think as things continue to evolve, especially with Olaf being such a powerful force, you saw how much healing they have just by getting all of the Conqueror stacks and, of course, the Gore Drunker popping. they need to make some room in for some Grievous Wounds, because I think if they don't, it will start biting them in the butt. And the same thing can be said for the side of Colorado State. You have Vladimir, you have Vayne. Those are two, of course, priority targets. And if you just let them sustain up, you're going to have a hard time killing them at all.
Yeah, you can see that Samishi has picked up the Executioner's Calling, so he has built those Grievous Wounds. No one from Boise State has done that quite yet. As we're going to see a teleport going to come in here from Shreks. They want to try and chase Prominence Blade down. Still does have the Ghost available. He's going to pop it, so they'll trade Summoner for Summoner. And you have to think, oh man, maybe a small advantage Boise State, just because that means Shreks has to know where the next fight's breaking out. But if Shreks is there, then it's win for Colorado State, because Prominence Blade's not going to have a way to get in on the back line.
Yeah, to think about it though, in the grand scheme of things, TP's cooldown is drastically higher than Ghost, so if there is an advantage to give, it would still be slightly to Boise State University.
You see the Thorn Mail has also been finished by Olaf there, so
we have 2 then, okay.
Grievous Wounds, I think even 3. Looks like Shen even has a Thorn Mail as well. So they have full committed for the Grievous Wounds on the side of Colorado State. Boise State, for the most part, doesn't look like they have opted for that route quite yet. So Olaf's still going to be a pain in their side if he's able to pop off. But with the Gore Drinker and the Sterix Gauge and the Thorn Mail, he's not going to be hitting as hard as a full send Olaf would be. So they don't have to worry too much about the amount of damage he can do.
Trying to see with my terrible eyes. What is the third item on Pantheon's build after the Sterix Gauge?
You know, I honestly, with the new items and how small that is, I can't quite tell.
Oh, okay. It's the Chempunk sword. So he does have Grievous Wounds then. He's got the one that gets to 60% Grievous Wounds once they get under a certain threshold of health. I just couldn't see it because, yeah, the icon's not too familiar with me. And I'm also very far away.
The icons are small. They're new.
Yeah, true.
It's all a challenge.
But that is a fantastic pickup because, again, it means that if Pantheon gets access to a champion that they want to, very easy to do, by the way, with Pantheon.
Yeah.
You just continue to pump out the damage and keep them from healing.
Yeah, my only concern would be, you know, the only person doing real healing on the side of Colorado State is that Olaf.
Yeah, and the Moonstone Refresher as well, or Moonstone Renewer, sorry.
That's true, but you're kind of wasting your Pantheon if he's jumping onto Olaf because you have to wait for the Ragnarok to fall. So there is going to be, I mean, yes, you can maybe hit him with the spear to activate it, but would like to see it on Gimmick because you know Gimmick's going to be attacking Frankie G. There's just no way around it. So that would be my next priority. You see Mountain Dragon spawning in 45 seconds. A little bit less for now. Galio's teleport should be up as it spawns. Ghost will shortly follow. That Orianna teleport, like we talked about, will not be available. So Shreks has to hang around on the bottom side of the map. Galio ult is also active. So this is going to be an all-send for Boise State. They're going to hop right onto Frankie G, force him to run away. Double knock-up. There's the Hero's Entrance going to come out as well. Ragnarok has been popped. Gimmick's going to have to tumble away off-screen, and Olaf has to flash ignited. Ragnarok has fall. Galaxy Savage dropping low. Nice shockwave lands onto 2 for Boise State. Stopwatch comes out. Alluring Tiger goes pop. Not much that Shen can do either to double kill for Boise State. They want more, make it a clean ace for the Broncos. Question becomes, is there enough time to finish this game off? And Colorado State, based on the GGs, definitely thinks so.
It's definitely enough time, and because they have so many high damage sources, the jungler, mid, and then of course the carries top and ADC, too much damage to be given out. Structures will not be long for this world. But my golly, that was almost like a Lelouch special there. The Vladimir just getting right to the back line and just continued to just say, hey, guys, I'm hurting you. I'm hurting you. I'm still hurting you.
Yeah, unfortunately for Colorado State, they did not line that shockwave up with that final Olaf engage, and when it did come out, it landed on the Galio and Rel, probably the 2 worst targets that you would want if you're a Colorado State fan. Well, the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State esports. The top plays at the end of every night are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20K bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Boise State winning game 1 in this best of 3, going to put themselves on match point. And unfortunately, Baratel, the only thing I have to complain about for Boise State is we didn't get to see Gimmick's outplay because it was always just right off screen away from the action. But it was a great job by Gimmick and the rest of Boise State taking down Colorado State we were a little bit critical in the draft, but once again, it came down to the 1v1, who plays better, Frankie G or Gimmick, and I think whoever won that 1v1 team, that team usually won the fight, and Gimmick outplayed Frankie G just a little bit more in almost every single fight, especially towards the end.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just, I'm sure, pixels away, because you saw both Gimmick tumbling away. Saw this Olaf charging in and then immediately flashing away as well. If either one becomes the victor, the rest of the team fight's determined by that success. So, you know, it is a kind of very fine point to work on, and it's kind of tough because if Boise State continues to play with that kind of emphasis on Gimmick and maybe this bottom side of the map, how does Colorado State combat that?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think part of the reason, in production also let me know this during the game, part of the reason I think Gimmick is going so hard, especially Woojin, the last time Gimmick and Woojin played Colorado State and Frankie G, Mountain West semifinals, Frankie G gets subbed in Game 2, Boise State loses like a 4-hour, 5-game marathon. I think this means a little bit more to those two players than the rest of the Boise State Orange team because they got prevented from a trip to Vegas by Frankie G in the Colorado State squad. I think Gimmick wanted revenge, and he played that perfectly in that. You see here, Boise State right now, undefeated. They're sitting at 6-0. Colorado State with a pair of teams. Not sure if the green team is sitting at 4-2 or 2-4. But right now, Boise State holding serve is one of the best teams in their division.
Yeah, it's tough because not only do they want to try and say, hey, we've gotten better, let's see if you have as well, but we always talk about when Boise State's at the top of the leaderboard. No humble brag there. That's just what it is. That we become more of the most scoutable kind of team. So a lot of what we offer in terms of draft as far as teams and play styles go is extremely scoutable. So a lot of this information, a lot of these play styles and kind of, if you would say schemes, are just completely laid out bare, and and to be caught off guard by one cheeky strategy, if you want to call it that, that's on you for not doing your research.
Yeah, I mean, the orange team not always on the stream as much as the blue team, so they have a little bit of that advantage. You also have to support us if you want to be able to catch our comps. You can't just get it for free, but a great job by Boise State taking down Colorado State. We're going to take a break here. We'll be back with game number 2. Can the Broncos move to 7-0 with the 2-0 sweep? Make sure you stay tuned. You'll find out after this break.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure. Legendary parts for legendary wins.
Welcome back in the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We're heading on to game number 2 between Boise State and Colorado State here in the Collegiate Star League. Second to last week of the season. The Broncos looking pretty sharp, sitting at 6-0. They also won game number 1, and they're trying to move to 7-0. Fish and Baratel here calling all of the action, and it felt like Colorado State, Baratel, had the right comp. I just think that there was too many times that Bladestorm Stand United was being forced in a defensive manner where if he ults onto Frankie G, they hunt down Gimmick and it's game over. Instead, as soon as Ragnarok falls, Frankie G's running for the hill and Gimmick's hunting him right down.
Yeah, and I mean, as you guys maybe have heard, talking about how maybe the certain draft picks were a little interesting, because if that does go on, if the Stand United's being channeled and Frankie G's diving the backline, you have 3 very squishy backline members that Boise State just turns their tails to and just continues to just walk all over them. So maybe a tankier support pick in that draft would have been a little bit better for them to continue to try and make those plays.
Yeah, that might have been one of the few times that Bladestorm did actually understand United onto Frankie G, but that was in a defensive manner. And then the other problem would be the shockwaves from Shrek were incredible. They just weren't there, and this is the final team fight of the game. You see Frankie G and Bladestorm opposite sides of the lane here. If they have that extra taunt to land onto Gimmick, they're sitting pretty. Instead, they never have that active. They're trying to run for their lives, and you can see there the shockwave, the only bad one of the night, still landed on the 2 targets, but when it lands onto a Galio and a Rel, you kind of shrug your shoulders and say, all right.
Yeah, that's a feels bad man right there, because your whole intention is to blow up that ADC, and for good reason, too, because Gimmick absolutely popped off that game.
Yep. There was a couple, I think the very first fight, Colorado State won with the rundown Gimmick strategy, and then never again. He was absolutely prepared. So we'll head into game number 2. The Broncos trying to finish off this series with a quick 2-0. It's the same ban number 1 for them. Still trying to get rid of that Gragas with his global pressure being able to be played in almost any lane. Colorado State, Pantheon was nice. We still don't want to see Galaxy Savage on the cane, so they'll ban it out once again.
And for good reason, again, because you don't want to have a kind of Gimmick performance on the jungle, because that jungle can influence whatever darn lane they want to.
Organa banned away once again, and Boise State saying nothing we saw that game was really too worrisome. We're going to keep it the same. Colorado State going to change things up. Not a Riven. They are responding to Rugin's Rel. So they are going to take that away. And then there's that Seraphine ban once again for Boise State. I understand it says Shafana, but pro draft still. Very confused. I'm surprised it doesn't say Sona at this point, since they're basically the same champion. And then there's that Camille ban once again. So couple of one-tricks banned away by Colorado State, and they're going to give that respect ban to Wujin on the Rel.
And, I mean, it is probably in kind of due part because they respect the ability that Wujin can kind of exert with Rel, the pressure, the CC, that kind of discombobulating that Rel can do so well. But I also think it's because they don't have a lot of practice against Rel.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in one of the replays, Wujin standing on a ward. Colorado State was kind of just chilling.
On Rel, yeah.
And then he ults over the wall, gets it onto 3. Then he gets the follow-up from the Galio, and there's nothing they could do in that fight. And there's the Kaisa pick for Boise State. So last season it was Ash. This season it's Kaisa. That's the first pick ADC.
Yeah, and again, even though a lot of the gold was pretty even, and of course, despite Boise State kind of walking away with team fight after team fight, this Kaisa remained competent regardless of what was happening in the game.
Colorado State saying, hey, Gimmick, you want to try and do that again?
Bring it on. Hecarim and the Galio coming out. But I do think it's interesting that we still have some of those kind of premier junglers. We got Olaf still up, Graves, Lilia. Nautilus is an interesting pick. And it's interesting more so because on Boise State's teams, this is a flex pick more so than anything. It can be support. We've seen it mid. It can sometimes jungle, but we haven't seen it yet. So just keep your fingers crossed. Maybe we'll get a spicy pick, or maybe we do get a spicy pick. Is that truthfully a Skarner?
I would assume so. Skarner has seen his spot in the meta here and there. One of those champions that's really, really powerful until everyone on the enemy team that matters builds a Quicksilver Sash, and then you kind of just feel like a cannon minion at that point. I will say, I think the Nautilus, if I had to guess, is going to be a support, because Nautilus does a really, really good job of kind of hard countering Hecarim, because there's nothing Hecarim can do if he gets auto-attacked by Nautilus when he's charging in. He just stops in his tracks. And there's no better way to peel for Gimmick than saying, halt, right where you are.
Yeah.
Rakan picked up there, so it's not going to be that Galio support flex. Still going to be Galio in the mid. So Colorado State, interestingly enough, I like to call it the fourth ban, where they say, I don't think Galio justifies a ban, but we still don't want to see 80 carry on it again, so we'll take it away. There's a Misfortune ban, which for Boise State, kind of interesting. I know Gimmick played that quite a bit, but they're making sure Colorado State can't have it. There's the Echo and the Vladimir from the Rams. And Mordekaiser for Boise State. So some champions we haven't already seen. I'd be curious to see what Colorado State wants to pick up for their top lane and for their 80 carry.
I kind of like the Misfortune Ban because they do so much AoE damage in the confines of that maybe ulti combo. But gosh darn, Samira also does a fair amount of big AoE damage as well, considering that they get to their S rank style points. But I think it's an interesting draft from both sides. It's now more interesting because I do believe this is a Galio, of course, pro draft bugs aside. And that's kind of not a champion that really fits the draft so far from Boise State.
You mean the Nautilus?
No, the Alawi, sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Galio. When I was
may
like,
have.
Boise State does not have a Galio. I mean, I think the Alawi still fits in a sense of it's what Prominence Blade wants to do, right? I mean, he just wants to 1v1 me, bro, in the top lane and actually win that instead of turning it into a wet noodle fight like we tend to see in a lot of games where it's just two tanks beating each other down. Kassadin, a very interesting pick, far cry away from the Galio we saw last game from AD carry in that mid lane, the former support player for this Boise State team, rotating into the mid lane with setup graduating over the semester. And going to be interesting to see the first time we've really seen him on a true mid laner. And even then, Kassadin, one of those champions that when I played around with him in pre-patch felt like the new items, especially the Lost Errata Aegis, kind of sent him back to the void.
It's tough. He doesn't really have a strong one.
Did Glovely hijack pro draft?
Did they? Hold on a second. Glovely, are you on Colorado State's team?
Did we lose? I think we might have lost Glovely to Colorado State. He has officially changed his fandom.
They finally, they said, we'll sign you on, we'll pay you. All you got to do is play Garen. Get in the minds of Boise State.
That is the Garen into the Alawi. Not a matchup I thought we would see in Collegiate League of Legends, but here we are, Baratel.
Let me see the names I wrote down, Worker. Yeah, yep, checks out. This is so interesting. Both these drafts, I can understand the side of Colorado State. They do have a little bit more synergy, a little bit more cohesion with what they want to do. It's all about keeping them in that area for the Hero's Entrance to fall and just tear Boise State up with damage. But the other side of things, Boise State, it almost looks like they want to have nothing to do with Prominence Blade. He will be in the opposite lane of the rest of the members from Boise State, and they have to set up deep vision to make this work because they get to determine the pacing of the game. They force and corral Colorado State to kind of respond to whatever lane they think is the most threat, either the one lane with the Alawi or the lane with 4 members. And using that deep vision, look how many single pick tools they have. They have the Nautilus death charts. They, of course, have the Skarner ults. Alawi can 1v1, even 1v2, maybe 1v3 at any given point. But so much single target damage from the side of Boise State definitely leads me to believe they want to make some picks here.
You know, the one thing with Alawi that does stick out to me and makes the Garen pick incredibly interesting, I mean, you mentioned Colorado State wants to fight in that Hero's Entrance.
Right. Or do you?
Is there a champion more suited for 5 melee on the side of Colorado State? Because Samira probably is the most melee-heavy AD carry.
True.
Is there a champion more suited than Alawi? She's going to throw that ult down, and those tentacles are going to slam onto everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So Colorado State's got to be careful. And that would be my other question is, if you are Shrek, so I would assuming he's going to be playing that Galio. I don't think they'll be putting him on Rakan mid. Are you ulting onto Frankie G on the Hecarim trying to chase down Gimmick?
Nope.
Or are you ulting to try and peel off Kassadin?
Before things kind of emerged as a Galio kind of combo with like the Camille being the favored or Jarvan or Olaf, the original combo was Rakan quickness in with that ulti, gets the knockup, and while that taunt and charm and knockup are going through, the Hero's Entrance is challenged as well. So that was the OG combo. So I think they're doing a little bit of nod to that. And if anything, if Rakan is able to get themselves into a good position, those Galio ults could be pretty good.
So we've got another pause, so we will take a little bit of a brief break there from the game as we just loaded in. I will say, Baratel, a little bit upset. The original combo actually would be Nocturne plus Galio.
No. That was
plus Shen.
That was after everything happened.
No, that was the original.
That was the original Boise State
That was the
combo.
OG. I don't care about anything else.
Sure.
I don't care. You know what? It was Boise State did it first, and you can't prove me wrong.
Oh, no. I can prove you correct about that every time. And that was adorably claimed, very affectionately, actually, the Bronco Bouncer House, if I remember correctly.
We will not see that in this game, though, unfortunately. It's something that I think a team maybe might want to try out. The other thing that I am curious on is how Frankie G wants to build this Hecarim. Of course, Well, we've seen Hecarim in the past. We've seen it on the Boise State blue team. We've seen it on E-Thug. There's not a defensive item in sight. It's, you know, full-out offense.
Right.
I'm curious if Frankie G is going to take that approach, or if he's going to build a little bit more defensive on this Hecarim, loses the oomph, but can stay alive in team fights longer. I'll be very curious to see how Frankie G wants to build it. Is it the one-shot gimmick build, or is it the sustain in team fights to just be a nuisance build?
Yeah, there are pretty much three schools of thought, right? You have the middle of the ground, which is the Trinity Force, a little bit of survivability, a little bit of damage. You have the Eclipse build. Some people build the Duskblade for the just lethality cheese. You get a lot of movement speed from Youmu's once they get to that item. Or you go full tank and full send with like the Chem Tank, because you just get more movement speed, and you know, he does scale pretty well with MS. Nice trade up in the top lane, and this is exactly how Garen has to play this matchup. Do not allow these Alawi tentacles to set up and fight her when she's not around them.
Yeah, interesting choice by Prominence play, since he did walk up from the blue buff, which he was leashing for Galaxy Savage and taking that path. Tentacle actually spawned behind him, so it's not going to be in the lane. It's not really going to have an impact, which is something you want to try and minimize if you are the Alawi. You want to be able to min-max that. Nice root from Woojin. Alluring Tiger going to dash away, but he gets hooked right back in. And it's first blood for Boise State. Cannot play that Nautilus cleaner if you're Woojin. He's going to get Boise State on the board first.
That was picture perfect. They said, Woojin's like, all right, we're this close to level 2. You keep autoing these minions. I'll get the setup. We'll hit level 2 as we engage. And as you saw, just super clean there.
Yeah, great job. First using the passive to root Alluring Tiger plays. That baits out the dash to Samishi. Then you hook him back in. He still had flash, but I'm not sure he would have survived. He was ignited as well. That's a great way to play, because if you use the hook first, he just dashes away. Prominence plays taking a ton of damage. Tentacles now spawning in the lane, but as you mentioned, Bertel Blade's going to do his best to just make sure those are not an issue. They don't get those free slams off, and Prominence is going to have to be very careful here in this early matchup, but he's got the Corrupted Potion, so he should be able to heal pretty easily.
I again can't see because my eyes are not the best as they once were in my younger days. Is Alawi level 2 or 3?
Well, I would be level 3. Everybody in the game level 3 except for that bot side for Boise State and Alluring Tiger.
My only question is, I saw the Q and the W from Alawi, and in order to win and cheese out your wins as Alawi, it's Emax all the way. Like, you should never actually be in melee range unless you're farming. Nice engage and a gank actually here for Frankie G. Gonna push back this cast and does not have the Rift Walk just yet, but there are reinforcements. Doo-doo-doo-doo! Boise State is here in tandem, and they're gonna try and back things up. Galaxy Savage gonna pick one up, but will be pumped out from Shrek's damage. The Justice Punch will punch him up in the air, but that means that Boise State actually gets away clean. A nice 1-for-0 in a situation that looked dire for Boise State.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great call by Colorado State. They can't be thinking that they made the wrong decision just because Boise State happened to be making the right play. You could say Woojin probably realized something crazy was going to happen. That's why he started rocking towards mid. Great counter gank there by Galaxy Savage as well. And unfortunately for Shrek, did as much as he could, landed all of his knockups, just didn't have anything else. There's that E from Prominence Blade. Maybe just wanted the Q and the W early for a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of further wave clear. Thought it would be the one thing with the Q is you do have the ability to get that range damage onto Garen. And pop, he goes.
Yep, I was about to say, as soon as you start losing and become cursed by your ghost falling, the lane's over. There's so much pressure that Alawi can exert, and if they're able to set up these two tentacles in these prime positions, both on that top wall and that bottom wall right next to Triangle Bush, it's so tough to beat Alawi.
Yeah, Bladestorm, interesting enough, choosing not to try and outrange the Spirit and break it, letting that full damage, actually let the Spirit be killed, so all of that damage being transferred to him. 25% of the damage the Spirit's taking going right onto that Garen, and that is a big reason why he went pop. You see the pings coming out. It's not going to be another Mountain Soul for either side, as Mountain Dragon is the first one that spawned here. The extra bit of armor and magic resist will be nice for either team, but we won't have to worry about those shields later in the game.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we were kind of criticizing what items this Hecarim was going to go. Didn't even bother talking about what Skarner's going to go. Galaxy Savage picking up the Sheen means that they're going to be on the front of the damage and aggression, as opposed to maybe that tankier Skarner build, the pseudo-righteous glory we're used to love, now that Chem Tank, and that would be the normal build, but this one's going to be a little bit more spicy.
When you have the Nautilus, you have the Alawi, who can be that sort of pseudo 0.5 tank that you might need for team fights. You're just going to soak up a ton of damage, so I do understand. And when you come from someone who plays a lot of Kayn, yeah, I know Red Kayn exists, and you can do a decent bit of tanking in that, but I kind of think that's just the playstyle of Boise State. They like the jungler to be able to put out that damage. I mean, in Colorado State, no different. The Olaf and the Hecarim definitely on the higher damage scale of things, so I definitely like both junglers' choice here to be a bit more aggressive. But yeah, the Sheen, not something we expected, but I also say Skarner's kind of useless when everyone gets a Quicksilver Sash, so if you can at least get the damage to make it feel like you're doing something, probably does make it a little bit more fun to play than, hey, I ulted someone, hey, they Quicksilver Sashed, hey, it has the same cooldown as my ult, so I'll try again next time on a different target.
While we're talking about items and fun to play, did you know that Alawi, in the current iteration of the game, if she kills your ghost or you walk out of the ghost, let's see if something's going to happen. I'll resume this after a moment. Again, going to be given to the bottom lane. Wujin going to be the initiator. A lot of that stun being given away to the side of Samira's W, but it's not enough as Gimmick puts the missiles into Rakan, and that's going to be another restless night for that Rakan as his race screen continues. Oh, unfortunately, no! Breaking G does get the dragon, but for their own life. We're trying to sneak it there under the nose of Boise State, but they were able to snip it out just a little too late.
Yeah, great job by Frankie G getting his team something here. It is 5-0 Boise State right now. Trying to sneak that dragon out. Bladestorm in a ton of trouble. He's going to get slammed down by a pair of tentacles. He will be taken out. Shrek's going to land a taunt here. On to 80. Carry, but level 7 on that. Cassin should mean it's easy to escape. Shimichi going to do what he can. Will get ulted by Galaxy Savage, but Alluring Tiger joins the fight just in time. Tower pumping Boise State. Gimmick's going to get the kill right before the hero's entrance comes in, but he's going to get shut down. First kill over Colorado State. Boise State, don't know if they want to trade that 1-for-1 and a shutdown on to a Samira.
No, and you just saw how much survivability, and even in the grips of being 2v3 under tower, this Samira can have, and this is before they even have their best item. That Immortal Shield Bow will make them not unkillable unless completely and executed the correct way.
The one thing this does do is it does give AD Carry a free couple of attacks on that mid turret. They're going to force Samishi over to rotate as Shrek's opting not to burn the teleport, which is an interesting choice. And we see much like, unlike last game I should say, Boise State in the top of the bot lane way ahead in farm. CS still favoring Shrek's in the mid lane, but last time everything was all squared away, so Boise State not only in the up 7-1, but the farm lead pushing the advantage in all of those lanes as well.
All right, in attempt to bait more action to come, we're going to talk about something that is low-key. Hey, it worked.
Galaxy Savage going to try and get away. Bladestorm chasing him down. Will be feared. Runs in the wrong direction. Demacian and Justice not even going to be called down. They'll use the Ignite instead. Colorado State doing a nice job there invading the Boise State jungle. Even when they're behind, they'll get a blue buff and a Scorpion for their trouble.
I hate the nitpick. The Onslaught of Shadows causes a fear from the landing point of Hecarim, and that's why Galaxy Savage turned around there. The fear sent him back into the grips of death, if you will.
Still had the flash. Maybe he could have pulled off
maybe
something
flash on the other side, yeah.
Yeah, maybe flash. I mean, the biggest play would be to flash when you see the Hecarim ulting.
Stay away from him.
Well, if you flash on the other side of the Onslaught of Shadows as well, he is going to be feared towards his tower. He's going to try and get some revenge, though. He's going to duel him. You see AD Carry is rotating down. Should be able to put out enough damage. It's incredibly close. AD Carry is going to have to come bail him out. Can't quite get the silence, but the Scorpion sting at the very end keeps Skarner alive.
I guess he was saving flash for that moment right there. He just knew, okay, Hecarim's going to stay in my jungle. I'll respawn, and then we'll fight. And I have to flash to live.
Worked out perfectly if that was his plan.
A lot of damage given out. Not close enough to that tentacle, unfortunately. They tried to get that tentacle spawned on the turret, which can happen because it's not targeted by the turret. And again, real quick, Alawi can abuse Dustblade in the sense that if she marks you with that ghost, the testament, the trial, and the ghost either dies by you walking out or by her killing it, you get the Dustblade proc, meaning you go invisible. How cool is that?
It's pretty, I mean, I guess technically she is killing something, so it does make sense. Nice block on the anchor there from Samichi, but it does look like for Boise State, Prominence Blade has been successfully just chilling up there on the top lane, putting a ton of pressure on that Garen. He's going to pick up first tower 11 minutes into the game. Pretty impressive. Going to get all 5 plays. Maybe. Are the minions going to cooperate? Yes.
Nice.
Nice.
I do want to mention, despite things not going too well on the top side of the map for Colorado State, they're doing so well in the bottom lane that this Moby's Boots Nautilus is being unable to roam. Maybe it's wanted to, because in the last game we saw Woojin being everywhere they needed to be with that rail roaming to the mid, trying to help out in the jungle, those skirmishes. This time, the Colorado State, I guess, bottom lane has so much threat to the likes of Gimmick that Woojin can't afford to leave.
He's rotated away once, and now he's going to come back in. They've got Frankie G on the behind, though, and the teleport's going to come in, as well as the hero's entrance. Will be a 4-on-3. There's no teleport. Boise State wants to even the fight. 80 carries. The first one to be dropped low. Woojin trying to get away. He cannot. There's the ult. It's a 3-for-0. Can Boise State turn it around? They've got Galaxy Savage and Prominence Blade at full health. Samishi going to be forced to run away. Hecarim also going to run away. Shreks does get the knockup. There's the spirit damage going to go out. Alt lands. Boise State picks up 2. Can they find some more? Nice flash from Prominence Blade. Will the W come back up in time? The answer appears to be no. Alluring Tiger risking it all. We'll see if one of those tentacles can smash Shreks off screen. But Boise State's just going to drop that Rift Herald. They're going to be able to pick up another tower, a ton of gold, and a dragon, despite the fact that they lost that team fight in the opener.
I mean, not trying to be, you know, braggy, humble brag completely. We kind of called that kind of team fight in the draft. We talked about how Colorado State wanted to just put everyone in one area, bunch them up, and go for the crowd control. Nice engage in TP here from the side of Shreks, and actually gets a shutdown, and a huge one at that on Prominence Blade.
Oh, watch out on this dragon. Oh, Frankie G just not able to get there in time. He's going to duel Galaxy Savage. Backup coming. There's Gimmick, and that's going to send the horse running for the hills. And it is going to be a Cloud Soul presenting itself here. Garen going to hop on the Wuji. He's got to be careful that the Demacia does not rain from above, and he'll be able to disengage.
To go back briefly to the point, we kind of called out how Colorado State wants to play those team fights. A lot of AoE damage and crowd control. And Boise State trying to buy as much time as possible. Woojin taking on 4 members at one point and was able to flash out without perishing. Bought enough time for Prominence Blade to get there, set up some tentacles, and as you completely saw, Colorado State, the members that did not respect that zone of danger, quickly fell to the tentacle goddess here.
Yeah, and the one summoner that we haven't talked about is that Garen running that Ignite Flash. So we were talking about Alawi being the one who just kind of wants to sit up in a lane. That's actually going to be Bladestorm's job, not bringing the teleport on the Garen. And I understand you were trying to go for an aggressive kill. You wanted the free Grievous Wounds against an Alawi that heals a ton. Bladestorm has to, in fights like that, get some value. He did get 3 plates, but Prominence Blade won that fight. You have to wonder if Bladestorm brings teleport instead of Ignite, if Colorado State in a full 5-on-5 is able to have a different result.
Unfortunately, you and I are the wrong people to ask, and our resident Garen expert is not here at the moment. Price trades. Not something that Frankie G expected in terms of damage, I'm sure. And the reinforcements do come, but again, as we've talked about before, Alawi is a champion that thrives in these crazy 1v3 to 1v4 situations, as long as the team gets goaded into fighting around her.
Yeah, as long as she can summon a tentacle or 2 in the team fight, have it assist on the smash, she is going to be perfectly capable of, as you mentioned, 1v1ing, 1v2ing, maybe even 1v3ing. Wuji's going to hop over the wall, going to land the Q, root onto Bladestorm as well. Unfortunately, Prominence Blade fighting that Spirit means he wasn't going to be able to get there in time. It still will slow. Boise State can't find a kill for their efforts, and everyone's going to have to disengage. You see a rotation from Alluring Tiger. He's got no backup, though. He's just warding out. Speaking of wards, Woojin, like, hey, this is weird that nobody's coming to me. He realizes he's on a ward, and he'll clear that one away and get the clutch level up as well.
And this is a great breakdown in terms of the way that they're playing the map, right? Because as we saw last game, they were continuing to try and bundle up and do a 5v5 fight. And now they're considering, hey, we have some pretty good split pushers. Kassadin's super safe because of the Rift Block. Can push really well because of the Force Pulse. And Alawi's just able to do whatever Alawi wants to.
Frankie G going to get spotted out in the jungle. Galaxy Savage and Woojin right on time. Dash over the wall from Gimmick, and that is going to be a dead horse. Send it to the glue factory. As Boise State's going to pick up 1. There is the quickening from Alluring Tiger. Lands once onto 80 carry. He's still got a turret to retreat to, and he will just boop right over the wall. And they're going to get an ult for nothing.
A great look from Colorado State in terms of offering the quickness, but unfortunately the quickness is only recon ability, so no, it's good follow-up.
Yeah, and you technically got the Kassadin ult. It now costs more mana for about 8 seconds.
Yeah, it's a 2-second cooldown. You got the ulti, though.
That's true, but not the cooldown you want to trade out. Boise State's going to pick up their 3rd tower of the game. 3-0 on towers. Just right around that 5K gold lead here for the Broncos 15 minutes into the game. Not a bad place to be.
Yeah. And this is something that everyone can take home. If you're able to look at the mini-map, I would even make it larger on your screen if at all possible. Look at now where Boise State wants to put priority in terms of vision compared to where they want to be in terms of lane. Alawi is connected to this top lane because they're going to be unstoppable for as long as they're here. And look how many supporting wards Boise State's given over to Prominence Blade. Same thing can be said for mid lane. They've got so much vision in the areas they want to operate. Guys, as much as you don't want to admit, doing damage doesn't win you games. Vision score wins you games. Wards win wars.
When I one-shot somebody, I don't care if they see me or not. Wujin could claim that. He actually was standing on a ward and still able to win a team fight in that last game. Bladestorm not having the best of days. Maybe he just picked Garen because the Garen E feels a lot like Bladestorm. He plays a different MMO, but
maybe they are Garen player. Love that you're match.
They're a Garen main and a Warrior main as Frankie G is going to go charging in on Wuji. He's going to root to slow it down. The speed teleport is going to be committed. Gimmick waiting for his chance. Quickness is going to land on him. An immediate disengage. 80 carry is there as well. Going to flash over the wall. Double slow and a silence onto Alluring Tiger. There's the onslaught of shadows. Gimmick going to be taken out. A little bit of an overcommittal for him. Boise State still wants to go in. Prominence Blade picks up one. Hero's Entrance going to be used. It's not in time. Frankie G's going to go down. Shrek's able to pick up one. That Scorpion's going to sting Galileo in the back one more time. Get another one. Bladestorm finally gets a kill for his efforts with Prominence Blade. Healing through all of the damage. Samishi, the last one left, going to try and use that ultimate. Not going to be enough. Boise State picks up the ace, and they're going to rotate right down to Dragon.
You never see 3 Samir ult out and lose the team fight. That is almost unheard of. But Boise State, the pacing, the sustain, the fact that Prominence Blade is so much in terms of gold ahead of anyone else on the enemy team just gives them and ekes them out the win there.
Yeah, I mean, you see that the Executioner's calling has already been committed from Samishi. Galaxy Savage trying to wad away as fast as possible. Barely dodges a knockup from Alluring Tiger. So that Scorpion will be safe for another day. I mean, it's kind of the inverse of last game, right? Last game we talked about can Boise State shut down the healing. Frankie G is going to do on the Olaf. Now the question becomes, how can Colorado State shut down the healing that Prominence Blade is going to do on that Illawarra?
To everybody.
Or, I mean, for the most part, the Illawarra.
Yeah.
And the answer was not enough. She barely survived.
Yeah, I mean, you go through 3 ultimates that have that extra amount of healing from the Samira and still not be able to get themselves an advantage in the team fights. Yes, there was a lot of damage given when the fight first broke out, but again, not being able to capitalize on those health bars being so low, it doesn't make for a good team fight.
I mean, you also mentioned the Hero's Entrance, as we see that Galaxy Sam's going to be cut off, but there's actually a team rotating over. It's a split fight. Prominence Blade going to come in, onslaught of shadows, and Demasi, you're going to pick up the first one here. 3-man knockup going to land here from Ujin on the depth chart. He's trying to waddle away. Double taunt will come out. There is Prominence Blade with the ult. Shrek's going to pick up one more. Spirit going to land, trying to do as much healing as possible.
Insane.
Able to eliminate the Spirit. Gimmick's now going to rotate back in. Alluring Tiger not able to get away. Spinning right on top. 80 carry going to land the silence, but it's not in time. Bladestorm's going to pick up one. Then immediately go down. Stopwatch committed here from Shrek, but he can just walk away. Nice block by Prominence Blade. So Mishi going to have to back in the Boise State jungle. And things go from...
It looked great, and then it didn't look so great.
Yeah,
because all the resources were used on the remaining, or the soon-to-be fallen members of Boise State. They had nothing left in the tank to deal with Alawi, and the fact that Gimmick had continued to have great positioning until the end there gave them the opportunity to pump out as much damage as they could. But again, using so many resources on not Prominence Blade, not going to be how you win these team fights from this point forward.
Yeah, and an 80 carry was so close to saving Gimmick. Unfortunately, spell queuing against him. He silenced the Garen, but after Bladestorm had already pressed the Q, so he was still able to get that empowered auto and silence off, and that was enough to take down Gimmick. But Gimmick was playing that really well, buying his time. Dragon not spawning. Baron is up, but it spawned a little too late for Boise State, and now it's Colorado State's turn. We saw this Death Bush come out. They're pinging the tank, of all people. Gimmick's there as well. Boise State's mid lane. Gotta be careful. Here they come. Here's the Hero's Entrance as well. Boise State's just going to say, we'll dodge out of that one. Great flash by Gimmick. Actually using the ult to dash over the wall. Still going to get caught out. They're going to find another turret now. Prominence Blade going to ult once again. There go the health bars for Colorado State. He picks up a double kill. Re-engage comes out. Galaxy Savage going to try and get in. The fight will suppress Samir during the ultimate. Prominence Blade doing more healing than Colorado State can handle right now. The only thing shutting him down from the Penta is how fast they are moving. Stun lands. There's the Quadra. Can he get the Penta? Blade Storm's going to flash away. He doesn't want to give it to him. ADK going to try and chase him down. Prominence Blade, they're trying to give it to him. He's just not fast enough, unfortunately. Blade Storm's going to get away. Boise State did all they could.
Man.
They're still going to get this mid inhibitor.
Again, fighting in Alauio. I mean, Promise Blade, of course, having to be there at the right time. And it ended up being, as much as you want to say the Promise Blade is doing the hard carry right now, it's definitely supported by the fact that both Gimmick and Woojin bought so much time. And that Killer Instinct over the wall, who would even think of that?
Yeah, that was a fantastic play by Gimmick. And once again, it's using all of your resources onto everyone but Prominence Blade is costing Colorado State. It was also a great ult by Galaxy Savage landing onto Samishi, stopping the ult. And right now, the only person in the game who can apply that Grievous Wounds debuff to Prominence Blade. Nice hook going to land onto Blade Storm. Root's going to fall as well. Dash right into Gimmick. Now he'll flash over the wall.
That was a Killer Instinct again.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, he still keeps ulting out to safety.
It's great play by him. Woojin maybe bites off more than he can chew. The quickness going to taunt Gimmick as well. He'll get away right under the turret. Full send from Colorado State. We'll see if the Broncos want to answer. They don't have Prominence Blade this time, so they'll only be able to trade 1 for 2. Colorado State maybe sending a bit too much, as now Frankie G is going to spawn as Cloud Drake spawns. So it'll be a very interesting battle if Boise State wants to commit to put themselves on Soul Point. It's not going to be a smite battle, and their members should be up and back in time.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because of the fact that Prominence Blade has helped out so often in these team fights and making them successful for Boise State, all the members have gold. And Colorado State isn't doing the wrong thing by trying to make plays and get picks, getting some gold in their pockets, but it's just a little too far gone.
Nice stun going to land there from Galaxy Savage. He'll try and kill the Spirit, but Blade Storm will outrange it, but he's now going to be at half health. Dragon is up, and we'll see if Colorado State wants to contest. Frankie G, probably on the fastest champion in the game, should be able to get there in time, but Woojin's going to stand his ground, not let anybody pass, and Boise State's going to put themselves on Soul Point.
I think as like things subside in another no, things are not subsiding ever. Why would I ever think such a thing? Gonna go to depth charge. He actually misses the ulti onside. Savage gets interrupted. They're gonna continue to buy time. Catching will rift walk away, but not soon enough. Shutdown going over to Garen, but look who's here. It's the whole reinforcement. The flash ult here from Prominence Blade will be huge and send Colorado State running for the hills, but it's too far gone. They better hightail it out of here. Garen looking to be the only one able to escape. They do still have 2 members alive. Boise State's going full send mid lane to try and end the game.
Yeah, they're going full send. You see the back got off from Galio. Samishi's back as well. Blade Storm trying to do the same. Super Minions pushing. They're able to get the top lane tower, I do believe. You see the tower is destroyed. Fire is going to break out. Samishi's going to take down Woojin. Also going to pick up Gimmick. Now it's up to Prominence Blade, but there's no ult this time to save him. Galaxy Savage able to take down Samishi. It's a 1-on-2, and this will be a great place for Prominence Blade as Shrek is at very low health. Teleport coming from AD Carry right off the spawn. Knock up in the air, and then the dash away from Alluring Tiger. AD Carry trying to shut down Blade Storm. Will get silenced under tower. He's going to be taken out. Boise State bites off more they could chew. Prominence Blade gets the ult back, though. Might be able to do enough healing. He will get taunted up, but there's still no Grievous Wounds on the side of Colorado State. Those 3 tentacles are doing a ton of damage, smashing everyone who comes near Prominence Blade. Finally, they fade. He's still doing enough to sustain under all that damage. Frankie G barely gets out alive. He even picks up 1 in the 1v4. Samishi's finally back alive. But Prominence Blade 1v4 in Colorado State for 20 seconds. And that is just insane. 14-1-5 on the Iloao. And there's not much Colorado State could do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe considering saving resources, it's just a broken record at this point. You have to use resources on the biggest threat, and right now, without a shadow of a doubt, it is Prominence Blade. Prominence Blade playing like a man possessed right now.
He's going to have
another ultimate.
He's going to have the ultimate up once again. It's going to go bang, bang,
and
bang.
Block.
That's nothing the Colorado State can do. That is probably going to be game. Shrek gets one on the way out.
Wow.
Garen, the only one left alive for 30 seconds. And Providence Blade, my man. get yourself something to eat tonight because you were feasted on Colorado State.
My goodness. Hey, quick question. Promise Blade, you've been working out recently, doing some deadlifts or anything? You're carrying an awfully big backpack right now. You got your whole team in there.
Oh, see the chiropractor because you put the team on his back, though. No offense to anyone on Boise State, but the man 1v4'd for 25 seconds and did not die, which is absolutely unheard of. Just like Colorado State has clearly not heard of grievous wounds. But Boise State's going to be victorious. That is a 2-0 victory for the Broncos. Not how they probably drew it up in draft, but they'll take it with Prominence Blade saying, hey, everybody, hop on in the Tentacle Land. We're going to go smashing everything.
Yeah.
And Colorado State was like, hey, guys, let's kill everyone but the guy who's 16-1.
He'll be fine. We'll just walk out of his ult. Oh, wait, we're already dead.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely insane play from Prominence Blade. A great job to wrap up the night. Don't forget that Boise State Esports is always recruiting talented production players and broadcasters. Top talent, along with good grades and eligibility, can earn you scholarships as well. If you want more information, go check them out, boisestate.edu/esports for more information and to get signed up. And right now, Boise State's Orange team has got to be very happy. 7-0 in the Collegiate Star League. One more game left to go, and they would end this division with a perfect record, but they're already heading to the playoffs as no one else was really close. And for Boise State, there really wasn't much you can say about that last game because Prominence Blade just cleaned up anything that looked like it might have gone wrong.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, the main criticisms we have for the losing team, there are some things that could be worked on for Boise State. I mean, if there was an opportunity for Colorado State, it was simply just to focus down Prominence Blade. And at that point, what would Boise State's plan be then? And that would maybe be the biggest critique, is maybe having a backup plan. And maybe they did. You know, they never had to resort to it. But, you know, based off what we saw, it was just basically, hey, join the Prominence Club and we'll continue to the promised land.
Yeah, I would think for Colorado State, maybe trying to, I don't know if it was trying to take it away from AD Carey picking that Galileo, or they just thought it was something that might work with that comp, but that felt like you didn't have any pressure. Maybe if you get the Oriana in that game and you get the grievous wounds, maybe that works out better. But when you play 5 melee champs, because Samira is about as melee as you can be for an AD Carry, not a whole lot you could do when the enemy Alawi just goes, all right, you want to fight in melee? I'll fight in melee. I really don't care if you CC me at all. So I think we might know who our ICCU player of the game's going to be, Baratel.
My bet would actually be Woojin.
I mean, Woojin probably the hero of game 1. Prominence Play probably the hero of game number 2. I think both are very
both doing work.
Both are decent picks. Woojin in the chat trying to vibe for AD Carry, playing that mid lane role. He's going to have to change his name at this point if he's going to go into the mid lane. I cannot
just Carry or something.
AD Carry in the mid lane. Well, it is going to be Prominence Blade. He played pretty dang well on that Vladimir. We just forgot about it because what he did on the Alawi. So big congratulations to Prominence Blade. He is your player of the game, brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who is a great player, makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central is helping their members achieve financial success. Prominence Blade, your ICCU player of the game, but all of Boise State has to be happy with their performance tonight. I think you could probably Gimmick MVP of game number 1 just because he had every team fight, had to be ready for what Frankie G wanted to do.
Right.
But Boise State victorious here 2-0, and Woojin and Gimmick getting some revenge on Frankie G and Colorado State for what happened last time they squared off.
Style, too, because as the games went on, I think Frankie G got progressively less useful.
I mean, that Hecarim build never came together, the Triforce, so he went for the middle route, as we talked about, in terms of the somewhat tanky, somewhat damage, but he just never could get to that one-shot combo we've seen Hecarims do on this stream before.
Maybe it's just because we're used to Ethug, I guess.
I mean, Ethug he is built differently. That is for sure. Especially his builds are different too. They are all off. It's like if this has health, I don't want it. I want it on my character.
Armor, I don't need it.
Armor, magic resist, it is pure damage. And unfortunately, Frankie G just could not get there. And Boise State. I mean, this was just a sign of things to come. It's a 2-on-4. Galaxy Savage put in quite a bit of work as well, but Prominence Play just made things go pop.
Yeah, and again, it's just out of respect. People do not play enough against Alawi to realize, hey, wait, oh goodness, these ults, these tentacles, they do so much damage. But you should know at the same time. It's like just like chasing Sins. You don't have to fight Singed all the time, but the number one rule of League of Legends is not to chase him.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do when you see that final replay and you die to a champion who's walking away from you because they're passive tentacle slam. So a huge shout out to Boise State. A huge congratulations to Providence played on his ICCU player of the game. Well, that will wrap up our things tonight. Boise State heading into their final game with a 7-0 record, and you have to think pretty well deserved, Baratal, on how they played tonight.
It's because I wore the shirt. Yeah,
you look like you're rooting for Colorado State. I'm gonna be honest.
It worked. I did the cast.
No, you were rooted for the wrong team. Is apparently what happened. I always
root for the boys in blue and orange.
Maybe you should probably wear blue and orange polo next time, not the team color.
Yeah, I gotta go to the
other
Broncos
team.
store. That's for sure.
Well, we're going to close out with our top plays presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. For everyone at Boise State Esports, Baratel, our production, and the players, we thank you. We'll have our tiebreaker tomorrow. Colorado State won in Rocket League. Boise State won in League of Legends. There's a pretty big men's basketball game tomorrow night between these two teams to see who is victorious in this CSU versus BSU weekend. But that's going to do it for us. We'll leave you with our top 5 plays. It's going to be very tough for Boise State in this Collegiate Star League matchup. Boise State Orange taking on Colorado State Green here. Second to last week in the regular season. I know both these... The wall still going to get caught out. They're going to find another turret now. Promise playing it all once again. There go the health bars for Colorado State. He picks up a double kill. Re-engage comes out. Galaxy Savage going to try and get in. The fight will suppress Samir during the ultimate. Prominence Blade doing more healing than Colorado State. Undertow as they chase down Gimmick. He's going to tumble away and turn invisible. Here's entrance. Will land. Bladestorm going to get knocked up in the air as the Stand United came through. Prominence Blade channeling the teleport. Everybody's down here around Dragon. Prominence Blade on the back line. He's going to pick up the first kill. Shimishi going to be forced to flash over the wall. Galaxy Savage will join it. Double knock up. There's the Hero's entrance going to come out as well. Ragnarok has been popped. Gimmick's going to have to tumble away off screen, and Olaf has to flash ignited. Ragnarok has fall. Galaxy Savage dropping low. Nice shockwave lands on the 2 for Boise State. Stopwatch comes out. Alluring Tiger goes pop. Not much that Shen can do either. It's a double kill for Boise State, and they want more to make it a clean ace for the Broncos. Question. One. Hero's entrance going to be used. It's not in time. Frankie G's going to go down. Shrek's able to pick up one. That Scorpion's going to sting Galileo in the back one more time. Get another one. Bladestorm finally gets a kill for his efforts with Prominence Blade. Healing through all of the damage. Samishi, the last one left, going to try and use that ultimate. Not going to be enough. Boise State picks up the ace. Get taunted up, but there's still no Grievous Boons on the side of Colorado State. Those 3 tentacles are doing a ton of damage, smashing everyone who comes near Prominence Blade. Finally, they fade. He's still doing enough to sustain under all that damage. Frankie G barely gets out alive. He even picks up one in the 1v4. Samishi's finally back alive.